Alright, what's going on, Forgotten Nation? I'm your host, FG, and today we're going hands-on with another vinyl record in my collection. Now, this is often regarded as the black sheep of the classic Sonic era. And whether you like it or you hate it, if there's one thing it does great, it's definitely the soundtrack. Because as a matter of fact, this is the only game that came out at the time that was able to utilize a CD-ROM audio soundtrack that was unlike anything that came before it. So with that in mind, today we're going hands-on with Sonic CD. This is a 3 LP set released by Data Disc back in 2019. The version on hand is the limited edition, which features some special splatter vinyl designs on 2 of the 3 discs. The third one being a blue disc that has a special etching we'll be looking at in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that. Now, Sonic CD, as I mentioned, is of course the black sheep of the series, and good reason. Not only is it fundamentally different for the gameplay and mechanics that came with it, but even the audio itself being CD audio quality. Sonic CD was made as the only Sonic game for the Sega CD, and this is one of few games that really utilized the hardware potential, and one of its main mechanics, being the time travel mechanic, utilized it just well. The soundtrack actually features 4 different variants of each level theme. So, for example, Palmtree Panic, not only do you have the present theme, but you have the past theme, as well as 2 variants of the future theme, the good future and the bad future. So, for a given world, that's already 4 different versions combined with the 7 other worlds. So, there's over 28 different tracks just for the levels alone. And that's packing a lot. But we didn't even talk about the music itself. This is made to be something completely different from the Sonic games that came before and after it. The music isn't just limited based on what the zone should be. Rather, they were trying to go for something completely different. And I believe the best example of this comes in form of the opening stage, Palmtree Panic. Whereas you expect it to be simple, timid, laid back, it's the first stage after all. Maybe the American version, but definitely not the Japan version. We'll see that in a sample very soon, but I think you have an idea where this is going. Sonic CD soundtrack is nothing like you've seen before from the Genesis era of Sonic games. So, we're not going to waste any time, let's get hands-on with this vinyl record. First things first though, of course, is the cover art. And right on the front, we see Sonic dueling it out with Metal Sonic on what was originally the artwork used for the Japanese and PAL releases of Sonic CD, though the green checkered background was actually made for the Christian Whitehead release back in 2011. And if you're going to play Sonic CD, that is the way to play it, because not only does it have widescreen support, but it has a way better sense of performance and even quality of life additions. And on the back side, speaking of, we also have little snippets of the toy animation used for the beginning and the end. For those that don't know, Toy actually did some animated segments for the game. And if you don't know who Toy Animation is, let's just say they worked on a little something called Dragon Ball. That among many other things. So they were pretty well known. Definitely well known. But overall, nice solid greens all around, and I'm loving the design. Awesome artwork, as well as just little snippets of the animation. More on that once we get to the inside of this, because this is a Data Disc release, so before we get to the vinyl records themselves, it actually touts some art cards. And these are pretty fun, because not only is it artwork of the game, but even offers something of a note from the composer, Naofumi. I can't pronounce stuff. But first things first, we have another copy of the artwork from the front of the LP. Once again, looks great. If you want to hang this up, it's a nice alternative. But then the letter from the composer was actually recent from the time that this was being released back in 2019. It's a nice little read, and I like looking at it. It says a little bit about the development of Sonic CD's soundtrack. And honestly, it's probably one of the best reasons I have this vinyl. Not just the limited edition, but any edition for that matter. It's fun to get a little glimpse of what it was like making the game itself. So for any Data Disc release that you get, you're going to see a letter like this from the composer of the game. I love those little additions. But the other 2 art cards is art cards, which features concept and basic artwork from the game, such as the left side here is, in my left, Sonic and the Sonic CD logo. This one more parallel to what we saw with the American artwork, though the only thing missing here, of course, is the pendulum design featuring Metal, Eggman, as well as Amy Rose. Fun fact, this was actually the first game that Amy starred in. Meanwhile, on my right side, we have Eggman as well as several different bandits that the game has to offer. And if you thought it was just the front side, no worries. We got the backside too, featuring a little bit of Metal Sonic, some awesome artwork as well as some outlines, and every little frame from the opening and ending animatics. My personal favorite frame being the zoom in on Metal Sonic down below. Really cool stuff with these art cards. And if I had to spare money, I'd try to frame them. Well, maybe. After all, believe it or not, in my collection I actually have a frame just for the vinyl set. I'll show it off in a little zoom in. But art cards aside, let's get to the main meat. We have the vinyls. And we're going to start in order. Starting with number 1, this is the A and B side. Then we're going to see the splatters in action. Which, vinyl number 1 is the present vinyl. So this contains all the present themes of each zone, featuring blue in the middle and green splattered to complement. Love the color designs here. Of course, this is parallel to the Christian Whitehead release, because I don't really remember green being the complement of the series when it first came out. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just love the touches of green. If anything, it's more akin to Metal Sonic in a way, but that's just my opinion. Now, it's also worth mentioning that Data Disc also has these amazing sleeves that really feel protective of them. I haven't really seen this kind of quality from other releases, so honestly, I feel like these are some of the best sleeves that Data uses. Anyways, vinyl number 2, the C and D side, features respectively the Good Future and the Past themes. And this one's the inverse of the first one, featuring a green spill with blue splatter. Again, love the designs here. These are clear disc with the splatter to feature them, so it just looks great. I wish I had these hung, but then I'd never get to listen to them. But no, I can speak from just previous experience that anything Data Disc does is really good. This isn't the only one I have in my collection. I also have Sonic Mania and Space Harrier, and as a more recent, even Outrun. But no, they do some quality stuff. And the last disc, disc number 3, this is the Bad Future disc, which also features, as mentioned before, the custom etching on the back. And this etching is actually Sonic dueling it out with Dr. Robotnik, and his first egg robo from the first boss. I like it. Honestly, I thought the etching was going to be more akin to what you see on the other side of the record, where the music is. But no, it makes sense. And again, it looks great. It's a cool little bonus. But you're probably wondering why it's got an etching as opposed to more music. And that's a good question. Because if there's one thing that this set doesn't have, and reasons I can understand of course, but it's still disappointing, this soundtrack does not have the opening and ending themes of the Japanese soundtrack, Sonic Warrior and Cosmic Eternity. There's licensing legal reasons behind it, but it's still disappointing that they didn't make the cuts. I would have loved to have those themes here on this vinyl, but I understand why. It's the same thing that happened with the Christian Whitehead version, but at least that version had the instrumentals. So I don't see the excuse here. What happened, Data Disc? How come we don't have those two songs? It was that close from being a perfect set soundtrack. Don't get me wrong though, this is still amazing. And to prove it, let's take a look at some of the samples. It's that time, so I've handcrafted chosen some themes from each of the levels in Sonic CD. So, take a gander and listen to some of the sounds that is the Japanese and European soundtrack of Sonic CD. Alright, that was a couple of hand-selected themes from Sonic CD's vinyl pressing from Data Disc. Of course, that's not all the songs, so the best way to experience it is to check it out yourself. I'll have links in the description below to Data Disc Store, which currently has the Blue Edition as well as the Classic Black Edition, so be sure to check it out. Overall, Sonic CD is a very unique experience, not just in the gameplay departments, but even the soundtrack department, as the soundtrack is something very different from the traditional Sonic games, and thanks to the Sega CD hardware, it was able to make a soundtrack that was unlike anything at the time. And even though this is standard held today because of the change in music from simple compositions of the system hardwares to full-blown orchestrated symphonies, at the time this was still very much revolutionary of what a game soundtrack could be and what it would eventually become. Easily one of the best soundtracks in the Sonic series, but is it the best one in the series? I'll leave it to you guys in the comments below. But personally, this is one of my favorite soundtracks of not only the Sega Genesis, but in the Sonic series. And to think that it would later be featured in Sonic Mania of all things. Stardust Speedway, Metallic Madness, love the Mania compositions. Love them. But alright, that's going to do it for this hands-on video of Sonic CD. This is the first video I've done that I've used a different arranged setup. Whereas opposed we've done the webcam in the past, this is actually being ran off of a Google Pixel 3 camera, which is natively wired to my trustworthy Yeti mic. So if you like the setup, be sure to let me know down below in the comments. And as always, be sure to leave a like and comment down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. So though, big disappointment we didn't get Toot Toot Sonic Warrior. Toot Toot Sonic Warrior!